Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. The Power of Awareness, Chapter 21. And this chapter is called Free Will. The question is often asked, what should be done between the assumption of the wish fulfilled and its realization? Nothing. It is a delusion that other than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can do anything to aid the realization of your desire. Okay. You think that you can do something you want to do. Oh, no, hold on. You think that you can do something. You want to do something, but actually you can do nothing. The illusion of the free will to do is but ignorance of the law of assumption, upon which all action is based. Everything happens automatically. Now, gospel according to Natalie. As I'm reading this, puts me in mind of, let's see here. On the one side, what you may have been taught that faith without works is dead. Well, now I'm thinking you have the faith that you can get what it is that you desire, whatever your goal is, whatever your intention is. You have the faith. And then the works is the working of the assumption. Okay? Well, this is a revelation today. So faith without works is dead. So if you don't direct your intentions with the law of assumption and have your energy, having your energetic focus behind it, having your feelings, that your emotions behind it. If you don't have your emotions behind it, working the mind heart connection, then there's really nothing else for you to do. It's all going to happen in divine timing. Another thing you may have been taught, the fact that there is divine timing. And let me add one more thing. We make our plans. We lay out how we think things should go. We write them down. It's the power of the pen. We speak them. It's the power of the word. The power of life and death is in the tongue, right? Okay, so we're speaking it and we're writing it down using two other powers in the process of bringing our goals and desires forward. Ultimately, the Most High is in charge. The universe, the great I am, Jesus, the power of creation, the Most High God, he who is in charge, who has the whole world in his hands. And this is the world of the seen and the unseen. Okay. There's a seen realm and there's an unseen realm. Okay. We can write down our plans, but how it ultimately comes into fruition is dependent on how he works the pieces. Okay. So we put our best efforts forward. We devise our plan. We have a goal, and then we leave it because ultimately how it pans out is in his hands. It's by his divine will and in his divine time. Oh, I love this. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wowzers. I tell you, when it comes together, it is lovely. I am really feeling this right now. So he says, everything happens automatically. All that befalls you, all that is done by you happens. Your assumptions, conscious or unconscious, direct all thought and action to their fulfillment. Your assumptions, conscious or unconscious. The conscious being what you're able to think of, to write down, the details involved, the feelings, the taste, the smell, everything that goes on, that's supposed to be in play when you've reached the point of achieving your desired goal, when it comes into fruition, when it's right here, right now, in the flesh, or as in a manner of speaking. When your goal comes into fruition, that is related to the conscious part of it. The unconscious part we spoke about a few weeks ago, or in these last few chapters, being how strongly do you feel that you can actually achieve this thing? What blockers, mental blockers, social blockers, do you imagine to be in place? Were you given, were you told you can't do much more than what your people did? You're not able to achieve more than what your friends and family have achieved. You should not be aiming to achieve more than what your friends and family have achieved. Um, excuse me. The white man won't let me be great. That's a big old lie, because he is not the great I am. He is not the most high. If you've ever had a door open for you that someone worked their hardest to try and keep closed, that lets you know there is absolutely nothing outside of what you're able to do with the most high behind you. Okay. You're working with the law, you're working with the force, you're working working with the force. Star Wars reference right there. Yeah, them my people too. I'm enjoying this right now, boy. Ah, the unconscious part is the other things. Okay, outside of what you're able to conceive of, the things that will roam through your mind, the things that might slow you down in your process, the things that might give you pause when you think about it and you have to examine, where did this come from? Who said it and why? What was really going on? Was this that person's limitations, or was it actually corrective criticism? Was it corrective criticism? Okay. You got to consider these type of things in order to clear the way to enhance your ability to manifest the things that you're here to manifest. All righty. Good stuff. Okay, so your assumptions, conscious or unconscious, direct all thought and action to their fulfillment. Everything comes into play. To understand the law of assumption, to be convinced of its truth, means getting rid of all the illusions about free will to act. Excuse me. Excuse me. Free will actually means freedom to select any idea you desire. By assuming the idea already to be a fact, it is converted into reality. Let me read that again. By assuming the idea already to be a fact, like there's a foregone conclusion, whatever I'm imagining is coming down. It's going down. Beyond that, free will ends, and everything happens in harmony with the concept assumed. So once you put it out on the air, once you throw it out there in the ether, your energy is directed towards your goal, your desire. The pieces are coming together. The doors are being opened. People are being shifted out of the way. People are being shifted into your way. The helpful ones. Everything that needs to be in motion to have your desire fulfilled is working. The energy that you put out there is calling it to you. Okay. As long as you don't give yourself any defeatist thoughts for an extended period of time. You have some grace in here. As long as you don't, oh no, I can't do this. And for the next 30 days, you're like, I can't. Then you're working against yourself. But as long as, I mean, it can be a passing thought because it was given to you somewhere along in your programming, but you're recognizing it and you're debunking it. You're recognizing the block and you are debunking the block. Okay. So he goes on to say, let me read that paragraph again. Boy, I get off into some stuff. To understand the law of assumption, to be convinced of its truth, means getting rid of all the illusions about free will to act. Free will actually means freedom to select any idea you desire. By assuming the idea already to be a fact, it is converted into reality. Beyond that, free will ends and everything happens in harmony with the concept assumed. And from John chapter 5, verse 30, it's here. I can of mine own self do nothing, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father, with which hath sent me. Ooh, let me read that again. I can of mine own self do nothing, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father, which hath sent me. All righty. In this quotation, the Father obviously refers to God. In an earlier chapter, God is defined as I am. Since creation is finished, the Father is never in a position of saying, I will be. In other words, everything exists, and the infinite I am consciousness can speak only in the present tense. For you Star Trek folks, we're talking about Deep Space Nine. This is my personal reference because this is what I get into. Okay. The wormhole aliens, the prophets from the Bajoran society, they operate outside of linear time. So when they speak in terms of this is what it is. Okay, there's no maybe, no if. They live in it is. And so they speak in that way. So it's a translation process for the humans that come into the humanoids that come in contact with them and try to have conversations to gain understanding about what it is they're there for, what their purposes are, what they're supposed to be doing. You know, you'll notice that the prophets start talking to themselves in terms of, you know, they don't understand what's going on. This is what it is. Da, 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 da. If this is your show, you understand what I'm talking about. If not, Netflix, Star Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Get into the culture, baby. All right. Let me keep going. Luke chapter 22, verse 42. Not my will, but thine be done. So we have things occur to us. They're downloads delivered from the great I am. And pretty much it is the I am's will in our life, as we're in alignment in our flow, be done. I will be, he says, this is Mr. Goddard, is a confession that I am not. The Father's will is always I am. Until you realize that you are the Father, there is only one I am, and your infinite self is that I am. Your will is always I will be. Let me keep going. In the law of assumption, your consciousness of being is the Father's will, basically operating in the flow. The mere wish without this consciousness is the my will. So that's kind of a wishy-washy, not operating in a firm sense. Um, saying it's like living in if this might, that type of thing. That is my will versus the will, which is whatever occurs to me is a full-on possibility, and this is what we're going for. We're calling it in. We're calling it in. Thank you, Lord, for giving me X, Y, and Z, or thank you, Lord, for facilitating X, Y, and Z, right? This great quotation, so little understood, is a perfect statement of the law of assumption. It is impossible to do anything. You must be in order to do. So have the understanding that, yes, this is what's going on, and operate with that understanding and pretty much watch everything fall into place. Okay? We are living in between manifestations, watching it all unfold. I was so happy when I realized that that is actually what's going on. We don't have to struggle with different things. We don't have to um, overly exert ourselves in things that are outside of our control. The serenity prayer has a real purpose. The serenity prayer has a real purpose, and we do not have to struggle with things that are outside of our control once we get into the flow of what it is we're supposed to be here to do. Okay? I am loving this right now. Okay, so he says, it is impossible to do anything you must be in order to do. If you had a different concept of yourself, everything would be different. You are what you are, so everything is as it is. The events which you observe are determined by the concept you have of yourself. You are operating within the range of what you think your abilities are. If you expand your mindset on what your abilities are, you will have expanded your ability to function in different things. Let me read that one more time. The events which you observe are determined by the concept you have of yourself. Okay? That is the power of the great I am that we are blessed with in being here. Okay? That's what we're working with. He goes on to say, if you change your concept of yourself, the events ahead of you in time are altered. But thus altered, they form again a deterministic sequence, starting from the moment of this changed concept. That's why it's important to hold firmly to your desire. Keep consistent with what you're feeling and what you're thinking about your goal and your desire, because any shift in that will shift what the outcome is. Okay? If you falter in your feeling of, if you falter from the understanding of you can absolutely have this thing that has occurred to you, then you can essentially delay yourself. You can delay yourself for many years. You can delay yourself short term or long term, whatever that means to you. If you don't have it yet, it's because you don't think that you can have it. So the more that you believe that you're able to have this thing that occurred to you, that's a download in the flow of your character, your consciousness, what it is you're here to do, your purpose, your being you here in this existence. You're demonstrating the I am that you are put here with. You are determining it by, once again, the limits or the lack of limits that you have between your feelings and your thoughts. You are a being with powers of intervention, which enable you by a change of consciousness to alter the course of observed events. In fact, to change your future. Deny the evidence of the senses and assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, inasmuch as your assumption is creative and forms an atmosphere. Your assumption, if it be a noble one, increases your assurance and helps you to reach a higher level of being. If, on the other hand, your assumption be an unlovely one, it hinders you and makes your downward way swifter. What I was just saying. Just as the lovely assumptions create a harmonious atmosphere, so the hard and bitter feelings create a hard and bitter atmosphere. If you are, what is that, clairsentient to some degree, if you feel shit, you walk into a room, there's one, two, a bunch of people in there. If you walk into the room and you can feel the energy, if you're sitting in the room, people are coming and going, and you're feeling the types of energy shift as the people come and go. If you're sitting in a room, everybody's pretty much on the same energetic feel, you know, love, joy, peace, hopefully. And then someone comes in with a chip on their shoulder. They may not speak it, it may not be on their face, but they're holding the energy of having a chip on their shoulder. You know, they have a preconceived notion of what it's going to be like being in this group of people. And they kind of walk in with that, and you can feel the change of the energy in the room. It's a thing. It is a thing. Mm. We have to manage. Part of what we're here to do is to manage our emotions. Um, do a Google search, look on Pinterest. There's a bunch of different charts that show the measurements of the vibrative measurements of different emotions. Okay. Sometimes it looks like two cones put together, almost like an hourglass, and the colors are according to the chakras. So it'll go from white or indigo to blue to green, yellow, orange, red at the bottom. And it'll say like love, joy, peace, fulfillment. Um, and then, you know, at the bottom, it'd be more like shame, grief, um, anger. And there's sometimes they have the measurements for, you know, what the vibration is. So each emotion has its own vibration. And that's essentially what we need to be conscious of with ourselves, particularly if you're empathic, particularly if you're intuitive, you're constantly taking in that type of information. And sometimes it's not explained to us what that actually is. And my friend today was telling me about, you know, it can wipe you out. You're feeling the energy, you're feeling the emotions of so many other people. Every now and then you need a break. You need to be by yourself so you can recharge, you know, wash that off. It's the importance of spiritual baths. the importance of meditation, the importance of visualization. If you do Reiki therapy, it helps to balance out, the chakras. Um, if you work with crystals, they help with that type of thing. If that's something that you might recognize that you may struggle with sometimes, or you're in the flow of feeling other people's energy. This thing is so vast. Oh my gosh. Okay. So reading that paragraph again. If, on the other hand, your assumption to be an unlovely one, it hinders you and makes your downward way swifter. Makes your downward way swifter. Just as assumptions, the lovely assumptions create a harmonious atmosphere, so the hard and bitter feelings create a hard and bitter atmosphere. We go to Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Whatsoever things are pure, just, lovely, of good report, think on these things. Think on these things. This means to make your assumptions the highest, noblest, happiest concepts. There is no better time to start than now. The present moment is always the most opportune in which to eliminate all unlovely assumptions and to concentrate on the good, only on the good. As well as yourself, claim for others their divine inheritance. That's where it becomes important to keep like-minded, like energy, like focused people around you so that you're not dragged down. And if you can happen to find mentors to pull you up and help you advance through this spiritual energetic journey, all the better for you. Okay, just try your best not to be a hindrance to the people who are more adept than you. Because we are responsible. This is how that idea of karma comes into place. We want to make sure we put out as much positive and high vibrational energy as possible so that what we get back is in kind. Alrighty, let's see. Yes, claim for others their divine inheritance. See only their good and the good in them. Stir the highest in others to confidence and self-assertion by your sincere assumption of their good, and you will be their prophet and their healer, for an inevitable fulfillment awaits all sustained assumptions. You win by assumption what you can never win by force. You win by assumption what you can never win by force. Once again, thank you, Pastor Michael. One of the first books, if not the first book he gave me to read, was Power versus Force. And that's what we're talking about right here. It's available as an audio file on YouTube, and check your local library. You may be able to find a PDF online. The book is called Power versus Force, and if you can see the cover of it, one part of it is black, the other part is white, if I'm remembering it correctly. Power versus Force. So you win by assumption. That's like true power versus being forceful like a bully. Be like water. Oh gosh. That was Lee, Bruce Lee. Be like water. There's a power that water has in its fluidity, is what I'm saying here. And an assumption is a certain motion of consciousness. This motion, like all motion, exercises an influence on the surrounding substance, causing it to take the shape of echo and reflect the assumption in the flow. All right. A change of fortune is a new direction and outlook, merely a change in arrangement of the same mind substance, consciousness. That's what we've been talking about. If you would change your life, you must begin at the very source with your own basic concept of self. Outer change, becoming part of organizations, political bodies, religious bodies, is not enough. The cause goes deeper. The essential change must take place in yourself, in your own concept of self. This puts me in mind, excuse me. I was watching a video of Dick Gregory on YouTube, and he was talking about being at the march, being at one of the marches back in the 60s, and how the energy of the people who were marching was in one accord to the effect of they had the power and they were moving this mountain. Okay. And the energy that they walked with, the energy that they spoke and sang with as they were moving through this town, this area, had the effect of giving pause to the people who were opposing them. You know, the battle was already won mentally by that group in its entirety. They were of one accord, using the power, the energy that they had to say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're here for. And they were making their efforts, and they were successful that day because they were able to energetically give pause to the people who were there to oppose them. I can't remember the specific name of the video, but if you can find it, Mr. Gregory was talking about being at the march, a particular march. Okay. You must assume that you are what you want to be and continue therein, for the reality of your assumption has its being in complete independence of objective fact and will clothe itself in flesh if you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. We talked about objective versus subjective a few chapters ago, so please review that. When you know that assumptions, if persisted in, harden into facts, then events which seem to the uninitiated mere accidents will be understood by you to be the logical and inevitable effects of your assumption. Let me read that one more again. When you know that assumptions, if persisted in, harden into facts, then events which seem to the uninitiated mere accidents, coincidences, something other than divinely directed, will be understood by you to be the logical and inevitable effects of your assumptions. You're getting what you asked for. You're getting what you programmed the ether to bring back to you. The important thing to bear in mind is that you have infinite free will in choosing your assumptions, but no power to determine conditions and events. We talked about that. You can create nothing, but your assumptions determine what portion of creation you will experience. Okay, you can create nothing, but your assumption determines the portion of creation you will experience. If everything is finished and it's just a matter of calling it in, then it already is. It's just a matter of you calling it in. And we're here to improve our skills of being able to do that. Each of these tidbits from each chapter may work better for some people than it works for others. And so latch on to what is effective for you. Practice these things, ponder on these things, Make it a part of your daily practice as you're meditating, as you're taking time to sit and call in your desires and your goals, along with speaking them, acting in that direction as if, yes, it's on its way. Here it is. It's right here. This is what's coming down. um, Writing what your intentions are. That's pretty much, how it works out. Grab the pieces that work for you and work those pieces. Okay. And with that, that is the end of chapter 21. So there's your double dose. Thank you for joining me. We will continue with chapter 22 and chapter 23 next week, Wednesday, 7:30-ish, as long as I'm not delayed on anything. Um, I am thankful for you. I am thankful for being able to put this knowledge out here. As I learn it, I teach. And that's what I'm here for. So be well, have a great week, and talk to you soon.